Mr. Antonio Trump, biographer in New York, did you think a year ago that Trump had a realistic chance of becoming the official presidential candidate of the Republican Party?
Well, as a matter of fact, I may have been one of the few people who believed that he did have a chance. And that was based on two things. One is the mood of the country, which has even worsened since his declaration. People were already, I think, very concerned about security, very concerned about terrorism, and that's been his main focus. And the other thing that moved me to imagine his success was that he is the most narcissistic person in a truly narcissistic profession. So you have a job that actually requires someone to promote himself or herself relentlessly. And Donald is relentless when it comes to self-promotion. So I knew he would do whatever it was necessary to get this far.
On the other hand, Donald Trump is openly racist, he's sexist, he's very mean, embarrassing, he's a terrible show-off, a bully. He constantly contradicts himself. In his campaign speeches and interviews, he has presented more factual falsehoods than all the other candidates combined, yet it doesn't seem to hurt him politically. Why?
Well, I think that our political culture has been changing for about 25 or 30 years. Very gradually, people have been getting accustomed to this separation from fact. There have been a great many candidates who have been very loose about the truth and very manipulative in their speeches and their claims. So over time, people have separated their expectation of truthfulness from what they see in campaigns. The whole world has become a television show, and Donald is a television performer first and foremost. The claims that he makes and the statements that he makes that are sexist and racist and misogynistic, those are things that I think people, at least some people, secretly thrill to. They like the idea that someone would say something that is forceful, perhaps even a little bit bigoted or perhaps a lot bigoted, because they see power in this display and they see what they might imagine to be courage. So the idea of a very powerful man going around the country saying outrageous things is entertaining, it's provocative, it's riveting. People watch it loyally. So it's a complex picture, and it's not enough apparently for him to be criticized by the elite. You know, there's even an element of anti-intellectualism in this, where Americans, a certain number of them, revel in Trump's efforts to put down thoughtful people and to shut them up. So there's a reactionary, strange dynamic that's taken hold, and for Trump, it's very profitable.
The ghostwriter of his autobiography of 1987, The Art of the Deal, today calls him a sociopath. Do you agree?
I think I do agree. You know, he is, on some level, divorced from the kind of feeling that we expect from other human beings. When you're in his presence, it's clear that he's not aware of you as a distinct individual. He's said to me that he doesn't respect most people because most people are not worthy of respect. And this is a genuine expression of who he is. It's a very disturbing phenomenon, but I think history has given us previous leaders who have been sociopathic. So the idea that one would arise today is not entirely shocking. The question is whether good will triumph over this great negativity, or he will ride some kind of force, this energy associated with his sociopathy, and actually become president.
Would the world need to be afraid of a President Donald Trump?
I think the world should be a little bit afraid. You know, this is a man who's quite unpredictable. He's already said that he's inclined to deploy American troops and military might in a more assertive way. And we've had people at the Pentagon say, well, if we get orders that are illegal, we won't follow them. So there's a foreshadowing of crisis already seen among our elite in the Pentagon. So yes, I think we should be a little bit afraid. And if he's elected, I think we should pray for moderating forces. The one thing that I tell people that gives me heart is that Donald, at his core, is most concerned about looking like a failure. He's very attuned to humiliation, very attuned to shame. So if he perceives that the way to go would be to listen to his advisors in order to be a good president and succeed as president, perhaps he will listen to them.
There are some who say that's all a show act. He only does it for the campaign because it works for the campaign. As a president, he would be completely different. Do you agree?
Well, I don't agree. I think if you look at Donald's life, as I have, going all the way back to his childhood, but especially at what he's done since he became a public person in the 1970s, he's been consistently erratic. That's a funny contradiction in terms, but he's always surprised us, often in a negative way. So in the 70s, he was very racially provocative. He did similar things in the 80s and 90s. He once appeared at a hearing in Congress with Native American leaders, and he said to the committee, "They don't look like Indians to me," which is a pretty insulting, racist thing to say, but this is who he is. I think the crisis that America is going through right now with policing and violence in the streets could get worse under President Trump, because I think he would alienate even more people.
On the other hand, he is and was a very, very successful businessman. Now, when in a speech he calls Belgium a very beautiful city, is this a slip of the tongue, or does he really not know that Belgium is a country and not a city?
Well, I'm not sure he knows. I think he's a person who never enjoyed travel. He's not curious about the world outside of the United States, and for much of his life, he wasn't curious about the world outside of Trump Tower. So he's very limited in his understanding of the world. I'll give you another current example. He was asked about America's nuclear triad, which is the three-legged nuclear weapons strategy that we have, and he didn't know what that was. This is a concept that's been present in American military strategy since the 1950s. He's not a curious person. He doesn't read books. He mostly reads the media that mentions his name. So it's not something that I look forward to, a Trump presidency, and I'm not sure that he's capable of growing into the job. And the man that we're seeing on the campaign trail really is the man inside Donald Trump's skin.
You know the man very well. You did years of research for your book. You met him several times. What are his personal qualities? What are his assets?
Well, I think his main asset is his ability to respond to criticism, respond to changing circumstances, and sort of spin things around so that he appears to be prevailing. You know, in his realm, or in his way of thinking, bankruptcy, and he's been through 4 gigantic bankruptcies, is reframed as smart business strategy. He's a person who's been married 3 times and been the focus of one of the most lurid sex scandals in American history, but he presents himself as a family man and uses his family at every opportunity to project this image of a stable, conservative-minded guy. So his real talent is actually in ignoring the reality that the rest of us live in and promoting his own picture of how things are, and then persuading vast numbers of people that it's true. classic example is Trump University. This was a fake school that offered essentially worthless materials to people who were desperate to become richer. And many of them were poor people who put the $35,000 tuition on their credit card. Donald sees this as evidence of his brilliance. I see it as evidence of his cruelty, but a lot of people agree with him.
The US had an actor as a president once, Ronald Reagan, who was not a very sophisticated man and certainly no intellectual. Nevertheless, many regard him as a great American president. Could it turn out the same way with Donald Trump?
I don't think it could. You know, Ronald Reagan was governor of America's largest and some would say most important state. He ran for president several times before he was elected. He had experience with other public officials. He knew how to do politics. Donald doesn't know how to do politics. He knows how to do promotion. So he can get out on the campaign trail and conduct what is essentially a concert tour. It's a guy going from arena to arena putting on a show. There's no connection between that exercise or even Donald's business enterprises and what government does. So Reagan was more sophisticated than people gave him credit for, more experienced. He was still challenging when it came to the facts, but he succeeded by surrounding himself with competent people and rallying the country as a cheerleader. I don't think Donald can bring people together. He doesn't have the warmth that Reagan projected, and I don't think he has the temperament for it.
On the other hand, he is the Republican candidate now. How good are his odds of becoming president come November?
I think were he running against someone else, he would have almost no chance to be elected. But Hillary Clinton is a very flawed candidate. She is carrying with her the baggage of 40 years of public life and lots of mistakes that she's made in her own career. So Trump is succeeding at painting her as unreliable and untruthful. He'll call her lying Hillary. And so her campaign is faltering as well. So I give the lead to Hillary. I think it's hers to lose right now, but she's vulnerable and Donald does have a chance.
Did you change your mind in that respect? Because about a month ago you said in an interview with the German newspaper you would bet against him.
Yes, I have changed my mind a little bit. I think that the controversy over her email server and the FBI director's statement about it damaged Hillary substantially, and you can see that in the polls. Right now, though, we're at a moment when Donald should be peaking. He's going into the convention. He's selected a vice presidential running mate who's a little bit moderating and I think gives people who are nervous about Trump some reassurance. So I do see the gap between them narrowing. Were I forced to bet, I'd still bet on Clinton, but I'm not as confident as I was a month ago.
Michael Antonio, thanks so much for your time and all the best.
Thank you.